Hey, this is Ari. I'm happy to bring you a bonus episode of Marketecture's new podcast, The Brand Forum. The Brand Forum is a new podcast that will come out every other week and is hosted by Jeremy Bloom and Josh Palau, and they go deep on matters that really matter to brands. The first episode has got Alex Birchmeier of Conagra Brands, and Alex talks through new channels, new boundaries, and how he balances time and effort across a powerhouse portfolio of brands like Slim Jim, Ready Whip, and others. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and please go subscribe to the Brand Forum wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome to the Brand Forum, everybody. We are very excited to release one of our first episodes. What is the Brand Forum, you might be asking? Well, the Brand Forum, we dive deep into the world of advertising, media, and marketing through an insider's lens. The people, strategizing and spending on moving the needle. You, the marketer. Our show centers on how companies build brands in an ad tech-centric world. Our goal is to focus on brand building, not ad tech. To hear how experts like yourself navigate the murky waters of swimming up and down the funnel.
Awesome. And hey, guys, I'm Josh, and I'm excited to be here with you, Jeremy, and our guest today. Just as another piece to it, as we were talking about this program, again, the idea of talking to brand people who are again, trying to navigate this like ad tech, AI, data-centric world, which are all incredibly important. But what we really want to get to the heart of is how do you really build a brand? Because ultimately, the job of the marketer is to make that meaningful connection. And how do you do that in a space that's just changed so much? And so we thought about this idea of a podcast. Hopefully it lasts more than 4 episodes. We've bucketed the questions to be very much more specific around brand strategy, general marketing, some future stuff, and also just some fun stuff. And so we're really excited about bringing this to everybody.
Josh, that was an awesome intro. And I'm laughing because here I was reading this. I've done many pods, many different videos. So, hey, everybody, I'm Jeremy Bloom. I'm the co-host of the Brand Forum. I'm the co-founder of Marketecture Media and the founder of ohhello.ai. We are so excited to introduce you to our next guest. The man is a legend. He is a marketing leader with experience on the agency, sales, and most recently, client side at a fantastic CPG company known as Conagra Brands. Just hitting his 6th year anniversary. That's a lot in our space. He leads the marketing activation team, which encompasses media strategy across 3 sectors of the US and Canada retail and the food service segment, as well as owned website and CRM capabilities. This gentleman is also known for his insatiable love for Ready Whip, Guardian, and Slim Jims. But hold on. I found this in my fridge. Some Vlasic pickles, everybody. So,
thank you.
You hear that? Do you hear that pop? We're going to start this pod with a nice...
This is where we really test how good the mics are.
Oh, thank God there was a crunch. Oh my gosh. I was like, how sad would that have been if it was just like a little mush sound that happened?
Yes.
And I want to verify for the audience, this is one take. Like there was not a soft pickle in that batch right there. You hit it on the first one.
And I did not know that Jeremy was hiding pickles next to his desk. I will say that.
Would you expect anything less from me? Come on, Alex. We've known each other for a very long time.
I love it. That's one of my favorite brands. We have 85 plus brands, I should say, at Conagra because it keeps changing. But that is definitely one of my favorites. Pickles are definitely having a moment right now.
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, that's probably a great part for us to jump in on. So great intro from Jeremy, but Alex, let's hear from you.
Oh man. Yes. Thank you, Jeremy, for that intro. Yes, I've seen all the sides of the coin from a marketing perspective. I started an agency, went to the sales side, went back to the agency, and now I found myself on the client side. Pros and cons to each and every one of them. Happy I did all of them. But really excited to be here talking about all things marketing. It's been a journey for all of us, navigating a pandemic, all of that. And now marketing in 2025. Here we go.
Yeah, I mean it's incredible, and so I think I think as we talked about, this is what made us really think about the program is how do you think about that brand piece, and so if we could just dive right in. I think first off, one of the things that's interesting about where you work is like you said, there's just a vast number of brands, but I'm sure there's sort of some commonalities in themes in sort of the marketing piece of it. So first and foremost, how do you define a sort of a strong brand identity?
Yeah, yes, we have 85 different brands, but there are to your point, commonalities between like how we would get started on a brand that we want to focus marketing on. And I think the first thing we always have to think about is the brand even ready to market? Because if there are value propositions or perceptions of the product or things that are just not aligning with what internally you're thinking the product has versus what externally people are saying, or if they're even saying anything about your product, you got to line those and match those first. So we always talk about first and foremost making superior products so that when we do go to market with those, there isn't this horrible taste. Oh, this isn't worth it. This, you are going to get that immediate feedback whether you like it or not. So we always focus there first. Secondly, making sure this thing is available, if you're a D2C, if you're a service, if you are in store, wherever you can be bought, make sure that actually people can buy you. So those are kind of the first two elements that we always start with first before we're like, are we going to actually market this thing? Because marketing cannot solve your business challenges all the time. You just can't market yourself out of a bad product. So let's start there. And then we go from there and go, okay, what are those perceptions people have of us? It's not just a one-way communication anymore of here's our ad, we're going to slap it to you and you're going to enjoy it. There are so many options, endless kind of ideas of what people think your product is. Do they align? And let's see if there's any commonalities between that. If there's a perception that your product is that you have, that you think you have with them, great. You can kind of really start moving forward with that. If there is a disconnect, start back to step one of where I was kind of talking about. But from my perspective, start there with your product, the human truths of the product, the value propositions, and then what people actually care about with relevancy.
Alex, can you walk us through a time when there's been a disconnect of the brand perception of how internally the team has potentially looked at or thought about a particular product or how it was going to launch?
I think, from that perspective, there's often times where you have just a slew of RTBs, the reasons to buy that you think some consumers really think that they really want this product. Or I'm not going to give examples of the exact ones because it would.
You have colleagues, we get it.
We have colleagues
and comms teams and PR teams, we get it.
Exactly. So I won't give the specifics, but there definitely are times where you're like, does the consumer really care about that attribute that we think we care about, that people really think that this is the reason why they're buying the product? From a Conagra perspective, we buy fast moving goods all the time. People are buying on price. They're buying on different types of value, whether that be convenience, speed, those types of things. So oftentimes these grand old huge RTBs that we think are why they're buying the product absolutely aren't why they're buying the product at all. We got to meet people where they're at and what they consider value at the end of the day.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's funny, the reasons to believe. I've lived through a few of those in consumer backgrounds and clients. And just stating the obvious, but you said it. Would you think is the unique selling proposition or the reason that consumer is going to care? It may be, but it could also be price. It could be distribution. It could just be, I like the color of the bottle. It's like, but there is something about winning that out. That's kind of interesting. If you have to, taking that initial question and looking at like today's landscape, and again, not going to lead the witness, but building a brand today versus building a brand, even 30 years ago, or even when I first got in this space, which is 25 years ago, very different. And so just curious, like what challenges are you facing? And I think, I'm sorry, but I'm going to add to this question. Like you're also working at a place that is a legacy like company that has got brands that have been around forever. Like these new brands that have popped up are interesting, but like you're in a brand that has a history and a legacy. And so like what challenges are you facing today? Where is Orville these days?
I know, from Valparaiso, Indiana, but Orville rest his soul. But no, this is okay. I'm going to take the question in two parts here because I was long-winded.
No,
absolutely not. But I don't want to make sure I blend these together because I think it's important to kind of bifurcate what these questions are. Because if we take the first part of that, where it was, how do we plan in a crazy kind of like in a new world of advertising than it was 15, 20 years ago. And I started in digital at the digital investment part of a agency, which got in 2010's Wild Wild West. I had probably no idea what I was buying with all these ad networks, all of these different places, but we were printing money and saying we need to be in digital, which was, we were a success, I guess, at that point. But the thing with it now is we are in a constant state of planning. There is no annual plans anymore. That is long gone. Gone are the days of create your 1 to 2 spots, your 1 to 2 print insertions, your maybe 1 Facebook post and call it a day, measure it 6 months later, and then replan it all over again. So I would say we are always kind of adjusting the plans, whether that be the targeting strategies, whether that be the creative messages, whether that be the partners that we're leveraging. Like that is in constant state of flux now. We just have to kind of live with that world. But social and digital is great because you can test really quickly, you can fail really quickly, you can learn really quickly and all of that. But it also makes it the curse of that is you could test really quickly, you can learn really quickly, and you could, you're in this constant kind of state of just change. But I think that is the norm now. So that is kind of the difference that I'll say 15, 20 years ago than today. We're just always planning. But then legacy brands. So now taking legacy brands, and I'm going to take Conagra brands out of this because it's not really a consumer facing company like our competitors are. Like we don't really have a strategy to, go after and say, hey, this is Conagra, this is what, but we do have businesses and brands though that are legacy brands, an accumulation of our fridge frozen brands, our grocery snack brands. We have, again, 85 plus brands. They're all in different kind of, I call it buckets though. There are people that love Manwich. It's not a brand that we market that much, but there is a legacy and something like that to it. There are brands that we've accumulated over the years that have these legacies. And if we are going to plan on marketing that, kind of like how I brought up in the beginning, what are people saying? Are they saying anything? Are they not saying anything? What are their perceptions of that? And really diving into that, you can play it up. You can also try to change those perceptions over time. It's going to be a little bit harder to do that because of the legacy that they may have. But in this day and world, the news cycle is constantly moving. Our attention spans, I know you guys just talked to Adelaide on attention and all that kind of stuff. So like the attention spans of people right now are kind of fleeting. So you kind of can build a brand back up quickly, but you can also build a brand down very quickly as well. So you kind of have to play with that legacy if it's good for you. And if it's not, you have to really try to rewind the tape and make it right.
And now we'll be tagging in Jacqueline Keller and Sam Mark from ComScore to give you a taste of something we'll be cooking up together this year. A sponsored podbuster, Dishing with Divas.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Keller, ComScore CMO, and I'm here with Sam Mark, one of our commercial leaders, host of Dishing with Divas. Here we've got a full course ahead. So Sam, what's on the menu?
I'll be inviting data divas from across the industry to sit at the table with me. Together, we'll take a bite of today's biggest challenges from linear TV to programmatic pipes. Soup to nuts, if you will.
Yeah.
We'll get into DSPs, DMPs, SSPs, CTV, SVOD, AVOD, SaaS, DAS, FAST, quality and performance guaranteed.
Well, that's a mouthful. Sounds like it's going to be sweet and spicy.
Savory, too. We're going to help folks take home that bacon.
So you'll be writing a new recipe in each brand forum drop?
Yes, it's going to be a really divine treat. We'll be like 2 peas in a pod.
Nothing half-baked. Well, except for cookies. We've been adjusting the heat on those since 2020.
We're looking at cookies crumbling and hotcakes selling.
Sounds like kids, divas, in a candy store.
Promise. We'll have our cake and eat it too. And there's even icing on that cake.
Sam, this is ridiculously cheesy.
Diva dish with a cherry on top.
I'm sure it'll measure up. Can't wait.
How about let's go to like future, I guess. Or actually, I know I want to go back to the planning thing if you don't mind. So I'm a big partner integration person. I can share multiple times where I've had partners email me and say, hey, you put me on the email with the other partner. I think you made a mistake. I was like, I just wanted to send one email, guys. And again, and it's not for any sort of like Game of Thrones, maneuver. It's just like, I want to have everybody in the room at the same time. How do you guys bring your partners to like into the planning process?
I mean, you kind of have to now at this point. Like it's not just an agency does the planning and the strategic thought comes from the client. And then the fun idea comes from, the vendor. Like those days to me are long gone. At this point, good ideas can come from anywhere, whether that be from a vendor partner, whether that be from an agency or be internally. And sometimes, even if you're talking to your random friend that goes, what about this? And you're like, I didn't even think about it like that. Like having outside perspective in this day and age, I'm all for it. So if you have an idea, let's talk about it. Some ideas are better than others, but at the end of the day, bringing the partners in and having a simple brief that a creative agency, a media agency, a partner can literally all look and gravitate towards. Because if that simple brief, though, that has those human truths, that has those things that you want to really kind of drive, and if they're all working from that one document, that has been a huge help in kind of just corralling all the different pieces together. Because at the end of the day, it shouldn't just be a media plan and a creative plan and all these other plans. They have to come together if they're going to break through.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
In your kind of role then, Alex, if you're across 85 different brands, you are working with hundreds and hundreds of different vendors. We might even be hitting thousands of vendors based on all the different formats of media. I'm not even going to go down that pipe of how many different factors and divisions and deferential treatments there are in terms of formats of media. How do you balance your time as a marketing leader, as a media leader within our ecosystem? Before we start recording, we were talking about a big event that's coming up and how you are going to be allocating some of your time, going to big meetings, going to big events. Like, how do you do that? How do you breathe? Like, this is the real question. You're a person.
Right? I am not AI yet.
Right.
So prioritization is critical here. Like, I will tell you right now, I'll be the first to tell you, I am not working with hundreds and thousands of partners. I have to be focused on a certain amount of brands. I'm not working on all 85. Unless you want to start cloning me or, pulling a higher SG&A budget, which is not going to happen. So we do have to prioritize from a brand perspective, all in. And then from there, I do have to prioritize where the target audiences that I'm going after and where those people are. So what platforms are they on? What type of targeting tactics am I looking for? And then based off of where those people are, what type of formats work the best, so that we're kind of making this list of prioritize platforms, prioritize brands, prioritize messages, and prioritize formats. Because you're right, you can't do it all. So you have to have some sort of kind of gauge of what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. Because what you're not going to do is going to be 95% of it. What you can do is the 5 to 10.
Yeah. So I want to add to that, or not add to it. I want to ask a follow-up question on that one. So, because what I find super interesting about multi-brand organizations is like look, Meta and Google are going to cover a ton of what you guys need, right? So when you look at it at the lens you're looking at it, how much are you able, and no specifics around numbers, but like how much are you able to spend time with the, like, I don't know, call them tier 2, tier 3s, or like innovation partners? Because I think about this a lot when it comes to, again, multi-brand companies of just, look, Meta can manage 90% of your brands, right? But then, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a scale issue to having to manage for that, and a time issue. So like, how do you find the fringe ones to bring in? Is it brand specific? Is it just like opportunity? Like what do you think there?
No, that's a good question. And oftentimes you're totally right. Like, you could work on a plan with Google Meta all the time and it would work. It would be fine. It would be a fine plan. You're not probably getting fired over it because they know, you kind of know what you're getting with that. But where I find like the fun though is like these other, like, let's call them tier 2 partners that are really willing to kind of pull up their sleeves and really give you kind of some differentiated, not only treatment, but also just ideas and things that you aren't probably going to get from the tier 1s of the world. And that's where the fun and the magic and the ideas really can kind of get born from. So those partners actually excite me a lot more. You have to now be, diligent on how many of those types of meetings you take and kind of have some calculated bets on that. But if you have a great agency partner, if you have good partners in general, and not even like JBP partners, but just like some contacts, not people that are chatbots that they're going to tell you that you need to go to, but actual human interaction where you're like, actually, that's a great idea. Let's talk more about that. That's where I think the best kind of fun and ideas. Marketing should be fun at the end of the day. Let's be real. Like, it shouldn't just be the spots and dots. Here's a Facebook story. Here's a Google ad, display ad. Where the fun comes from the idea, and then how you can creatively break through to that idea is what I look for.
How are you preparing for the next generation of consumers? So we've talked about, you mentioned AI, you mentioned chatbots, you mentioned being able to clone Alex Birchmeier. I don't think that's going to happen.
I know. Yeah. Actually, I don't think they need another Alex Birchmeier. I think one is good enough, and that will be
one is
fine.
great enough, my friend.
But no, here we go. I mean, it was just yesterday we were talking about Gen Z and how we're going to figure out Gen Z. And now we're talking about Gen Alpha and how we're going to figure out Gen Alpha. And now I think 2025, is it Gen Beta that we're going to be talking?
I just read an article 2 days ago about Gen Beta.
I was like, oh my God, I haven't even gotten my head wrapped around Gen Alpha yet. So here we go. But no, it is a great question. I mean, especially for legacy brands where Gen Alpha, Gen Z might not even know your brand, like they might not even ever heard of you. Like, how do you even start even thinking about that? So how we've been thinking about it is, okay, if we're going to divide these groups up, where are these groups? What are they doing? Why are they doing it? Why are they there? Why would our brand have any right to play there in the first place? So that's kind of how I kind of identify it first is, who are they? Where are they at? And then how do we show up? It's kind of the three answers that I would ask. And if there's one that's I just don't think that's right. These kids know, and they know deep fake videos. They know the algorithms. They understand that that's kind of stuff is just part of the gig now. So they're going to sniff you out for not being authentic, for just kind of pandering, all of that kind of stuff. So from my perspective, same brief, but if that brief can now apply to this new generation, let's test and learn it. But if we find that we're not showing up right, let's go back to the drawing board, because continuing to do the same thing on not resonating is just not going to be worth it at the end of the day.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think also it's interesting to, again, going back to your Manwich example. Does that click with a Gen Alpha, even the generation, which I forget the generation, which is actually my kids' generation. I don't know if it does.
Z.
Because are they health?
Z.
That's it. Yeah, health conscious, not health. It's just
right.
It's and by the way, not that it's not healthy. It's just more of they make different choices on what they're having. So it's it's very interesting to have to navigate this sort of space of yours. Before we get to, there's a fun question at the end. I am curious, and it's you sort of talked about it a little bit with the just the general Conagra overarching company, but in terms of the brand versus performance. So this is, by the way, also just as a personal note, this is my hill. Do you separate out? And I'm not even talking from a budgeting standpoint, but how do you treat brand and performance separately? Do you bucket them together? How do you think about brand and performance?
I love this.
Wow.
Love this.
This is okay. I love this question too, because I think people will die on the hill on the other way too of this. But from my perspective, brand and performance, no, we have one budget. And they should all be in service of, at the end of the day, doing the same exact goal, which for certain companies may be something different. But for us, we want to drive sales and share of our products, full stop. And brand and performance should do both of that. They should complement each other in a way that, brand being more reach driving. You may have different metrics that you're looking at. You may be looking at more efficiency. You may be looking at more scale, more reach, those types of things. But it should always be in service to the business challenge that we're servicing. And then same with performance marketing, which is maybe your cost per acquisition, your video view metrics, those types of things that are a little bit more down funnel, which I know do we still want to talk about the funnel or not? That's a question, but no one else has come up with a better idea. So we're going to say the funnel, but all of those need to be in concert at the end of the day, trying to achieve business challenges. So to me, brand and performance marketing are one.
Yeah. And as any I'm not calling myself a good podcaster, but I feel in all these things, you're supposed to let your guests talk and they give their opinions, but there is a right answer. You just gave it just to that question.
I'm just good. I was hopeful I was that way, but I was also I could be dying on the other side of the hill too here. And this could have been a fun little reveal.
Yeah, no, it's, I've talked to the other side of that one. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think it's really smart way to look at it. So awesome. Great. Jeremy, you want to ask the big question?
Yeah. Well, Alex, if you could be doing anything else, and when you decided you wanted to go into marketing, media, advertising, when you look back at nearly 20 years, 15 to 20 years ago, when you decided to enter this ecosystem, jump into all this craziness, and because you have been on every side of our ether, call it, what would you be doing? How would you be spending your time?
Oh man. Okay. So, when you get asked this question when you're a kid, and if it's still
Do you mean like when you're 44? Because yeah, I do. Yeah.
When you grow up, what other age that could be. But I always said I wanted to be a substitute bus driver, which I will say now, I don't think I want to be that. But that was what I said back then when I was like 4 or 5. So I'm like, wow, I've come a long way from, and no wrong to any substitute bus driver out there. I guess I didn't want my own route. So I just
we have a big listenership of substitute bus riders, just to be very clear.
I know, and I think they do.
There's a big TAM.
Work. They do God's work for those regular bus drivers that get sick and can't do their route. So props to all the substitute bus drivers, but I don't think I would pick that one now. I honestly, I think about this, and like I played tennis in college, and I did sports most of my life. I think honestly, working for like a sports organization, maybe like the ATP, God, would it be in marketing? Maybe, but like just working for something that I would be like have really close ties to growing up, and working at that, maybe the USTA, like something like that, where I would be doing something what I used to do all the time, but just helping a sport grow would be maybe what I would go for if I wasn't doing this.
That's awesome.
Alex,
great.
This has been great. We appreciate your time. Thank you for being one of our earliest guests. Josh, this was fun. We had a lot of fun.
We did all right.
We did all right.
Considering I found out that was going on today, we did great. Like,
True. No, I'm just kidding. I knew.
This is great.
I figured it out. But no, this is great. Thank you so much. I mean, again, like the goal of what we're trying to do is just hear more from the marketers. And by the way, like I have to balance here. Like we're not against ad tech guys. Like, and I am on that side of the fence too.
That's a part of the equation for sure. I mean, it's honestly both. You need both of these to make it all work at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. But we want to just make sure we don't lose sight of the fact that, again, there's a consumer out there that you're trying to reach, and you can use all the AI and machine learning and technology that's out there. But if you don't have a good product, good message, a reason to believe, a good tug at the heartstrings, like it doesn't matter how much meta ads you buy.
Love that you both just said that. We want to just provide a lens into how the marketers are thinking. That's as simple as it comes. So, Alex, thanks again. Josh, on to the next one. Thanks everybody for listening and watching. And if you're interested in being on the show, reach out. Josh and I are going to create a forum soon. And thank you for being part of the Brand Forum.
Thank
See
you
guys.
See ya.